Hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
I can't hear you.
Let me see why that is. Can anyone hear me?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. Thank you for being here. We have
It's
11.
my pleasure. I'm so excited for this part of your career and exciting chapter, no pun intended.
Yeah, I love it. Bring on the puns. So thank you. I am guessing that a few more people will filter in, but I realized that Google recently changed their algorithm to put a bunch of my emails in the spam folder.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I don't know. So all of you that have made it here are people who are really committed and have found their way here anyway. So what I would ask you to do after this call, if you could go to your spam folder, if you have the email there, and whitelist me, you can, at the top bar, it'll say report not spam. And then, or you can add me to the address book so that you can actually get emails from me if you would like to do so. Not everybody wants to, but you know, they may.
They should.
So let me see. Okay, we have 13 people here. Hey, Ricky. Hey, Tia.
What's up, man? Congrats.
Aunt Gracie is here. Amina. Oh
Awesome.
my gosh. Some people I don't know yet, but I can't wait to meet.
Guys, say hi. Say hi to Dr. Barbara.
Hello.
Oh, guys.
Yeah, it's me and Mary's kids. Yeah. It's
Ricky and I went to medical school together, so this is phenomenal.
Yeah, we did.
And we are nowhere near each other now. So I guess I'll just get started. And I just wanted to welcome everybody and thank you for being here. I just wanted to basically give a little overview of who I am and why I wrote this book for you. So my name is Barbara Hamilton and I am an interventional radiologist in Southern California. And I can see Ricky adjusting the kid. After I settled into my career in private practice, I just felt like I had a lot to share about finding my place in my career and, you know, just wanting to demystify what it's like to be a female in a male-dominated field. Because when I was growing up in medicine, this was such a black box. It was just like this, you know, mystery of what life would be like and how the balance would happen and if it was doable or if I'd just shrivel up into an angry hag or, you know, all these terrible things that some people seem to think happen. And I can attest to the fact that I'm not shriveling, I'm thriving. And so I had to share that with other people because I just find myself in this amazing career. And I think there are a lot of other careers, as Dr. Pearson will share with us, where you can help people with your own two hands. And it's so rewarding. And that's why I started my blog, basically. So I've been blogging for 2 years and I meant to write this little ebook and it turned into a real book. So here we are. That's why I wrote the book for you. I wanted to share this amazing life. I just want to explain that basically this is a self-published book. So what that means is I didn't have any publisher managing the message or, you know, there's nobody else here except for me and the help of my book coach, who's a neonatologist. And she helped me to make this book and take it to the next level, make it something that will help you all. And hopefully, I mean, it's targeted for medical students, trainees, people who are in a position who need to make this really important decision, but might be getting some confusing and conflicting information. So this is a really pure voice. This is my voice and the voice of multiple friends and colleagues. And this is what we want to share with you. So with that, I just want to So yeah, if you missed the beginning, please whitelist my email address. If you want to hear from me, go find me in your spam folder, because Gmail recently, I don't know what the other email service providers are doing. But if you want to hear from me, just add me to your address book or mark me not as spam, and you'll get my weekly updates. And yeah, regardless of whether you do that or not, I'm sending you a free book. So if you're a student or trainee, compliments of generous sponsors such as Dr. Stephanie Pearson, who is here representing Pearson Ravitz. And she sponsored 100 books for students and trainees. And if you just want to give an introduction of yourself, I'm so proud to have you here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So kind of my 2-minute intro. I am actually an OBGYN by training. Unfortunately, I was kicked in the shoulder during a difficult patient delivery, and she just got me in the right spot. And I ended up with a torn labrum in my left shoulder that should have healed, but it didn't. I developed a frozen shoulder, had surgery, went to sleep getting told I'd be back to work in 12 weeks. And that was exactly 7 years and 2 months ago. Not that I'm counting still, but I learned a lot the hard way about disability and life insurance. And interestingly enough, after trying to find my way, doing a couple of other things outside of medicine, I realized, similarly to Dr. Hamilton having a story to share and making lemonade out of lemons, I realized that most of my friends and colleagues really had no idea what they had by way of disability and life insurance, and have really decided to kind of fall into this space out of a sense of feeling as though I had not been properly educated, didn't have anybody advocating for me. And I felt like if I couldn't take care of my patients anymore, I could at least take care of my colleagues. And so I went on to become a broker, which I explain, I'm kind of like Switzerland. I'm not in bed with any particular carriers. I really care about the educational component and spend a lot of time going over definitions. And I liken it to informed consent in medicine. I really haven't found anything like that outside of medicine. And interestingly, I went from one male-dominated field. When I was in OB, it was just starting to kind of go women heavy, but men were still in all of the specialty realms. And when I thought about going into maternal fetal medicine, I didn't really have any women mentors. And honestly, I didn't do it. I went out, I became a generalist, and not for nothing, I loved what I did. And I would almost kill a puppy to be back in the operating room. But I went from that space into the insurance space, which is even more male dominated. And so what Dr. Hamilton is doing resonates with me, not from just a medical field, but now a whole new business sense where I'm often the only woman at the table. And so what Dr. Hamilton, what Barbara's doing really resonates with me on multiple levels. And that's why we really wanted to support this and help get her message out.
That's so phenomenal. And I was surprised to hear that your space is so male dominated. That's part of the reason why I wanted my group, Tired Superheroines, on Facebook to be not just a place for women in male dominated fields of medicine, but for the astrophysicists and the brokers and all of these people, because we have a lot of sharing to do. I think we can learn a lot from each other. And I would like to give you props. I mean, not only have you sponsored this book launch, but you've been a supporter of tiredsuperheroine.com, and you were the first supporter who saw this mission. So I would like to give you huge credit as the first to jump on board and say, yes, I want to support this. And the reason I wanted to work with you is because we're so well aligned. I mean, you're an advocate for physicians, and so am I. So thank you.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. I remember reading your blog and thinking, this is a gal I want to be friends with, and I support what she's doing. And I really do look for other physician-led, I have word finding problems, sorry guys. But when I see physicians, and quite honestly, women physicians really trying to kind of up our game as a group. It's exciting for me, and I want to be part of it.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. So with that, I wanted to ask you a few interview questions.
Sure.
So people here or people who read the blog may have heard a lot about my story. And I just love that you actually said you would hurt a puppy to be back in the operating room because it's so dead honest. And, you know, that's what these careers mean to us. It's part of our identity. And so when somebody tries to be a naysayer and say, no, you shouldn't do that if you want to have a family, I just think it's nonsense. So how did you decide to become a doctor? Were there any key influences along the way? How did you choose your specialty?
So I had a very circuitous route to becoming an OB. I actually went to med school to be a pediatrician. I wanted to be my pediatrician, Dr. Barroway, who was a man. I had a lot of health issues as a little kid, and he always let me play with his tools and instruments and made me feel like I was older than I was. And so I was going to be the next, great Dr. Barroway. And then got to med school, spent a month with a pediatrician and wanted to poke my eyeballs out. Was like, there's no way that I am looking in ears and throats for the rest of my career and dealing with crying kids and annoying parents. And so I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now?
It's not for everyone.
Right. God bless pediatricians.
I love mine.
I do too, but not for me. And then I did general surgery as my first third year rotation. The month that I spent with a pediatrician was in my second year. We had some like stuff, but I did general surgery because I thought I would never want to do it. Turned out I loved being in the OR, loved using my hands, was given a lot of positive reinforcement. And when I looked around, there were no women. And to be quite honest, one of the surgeons that I respected most was on his third wife. One of the surgeons was having an affair with a fellow. And I was like, this is not the life I want either, right? So keep going through, did orthopedics, loved it, and actually had a surgeon, when I walked into the room, say, when women are their best? And I'm like, where's this guy going?
No.
And he said, when they're quiet on their back. I was a student, right?
What?
I walked out of the room. I walked back in and I said, sir, you're wrong. When we're loud and on top, we're way more fun. He kicked me out of the room. Everyone else in the room laughed. He got in trouble.
Wow.
But that was my, entry to that other boys club. And I was like, okay. And I think I'm a tough girl. I have two older brothers. Needless to say, I gave it right back to him and didn't care. But
it's amazing as a student that you did that.
Yeah. And I'm like, but is this really what I want? Right? I have to do a 5-year residency. Like, is this how I want to spend my life? And lo and behold, I did OB last, thinking I would never want to do it. And was like, oh, I get to be a surgeon. I get to take care of women. And there were a few women who were doing it. And at the program that I did my rotation at, and everything just kind of fell into place. And, that was kind of how I found OBGYN. And yes, it was very female forward in the general space. But 20 years ago, there were not women in the specialties. There was one REI woman, and literally everybody else was men. And there was kind of this, understanding that if you wanted to be a specialist, you weren't going to be able to have that lifestyle that you wanted to have. And, I don't regret my choices. I really loved the women that I took care of, and I loved working in the community and kind of being able to build up my women patients that way. But it was not easy. I mean, my chief year as a resident was when they made resident hour rules. And I actually got spoiled because my first year as an attending, my two senior male partners said, haha, there's no rules as an attending. And I literally went from working less as a chief resident to working more as an attending. And it was hard finding that balance in the beginning. And there was a lot of tag teaming between my husband and I. I think it's really important. I'm sure your husband would attest, that there's a lot of sharing of responsibilities. My husband was a flight nurse. And so he had weird hours. I had weird hours. And it was all about compromising and looking at quality over quantity.
You mean as far as time with the family?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sorry.
I'm a huge believer in that. I mean, it's not one or the other.
Right.
And for men, it's never been one or the other. I mean, you earn for the family and you support the family and you're a hero. And maybe that's part of the reason I named my site the way I did. And I think my next book will be about the female breadwinner, but it's just, there is quality there.
Yeah.
Your kid can come running to the door screaming, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." It's the best feeling. And for people who don't want to have a family, of course, they shouldn't have to deal with the assumptions that they will. I mean, when I was a trainee, I didn't even have a significant other. And people were kind of giving that advice that, you should take that into account. It's like, well, I don't even know if that's going to happen for me. I don't even know if I'm marriageable.
I never actually thought I wanted to get married and have kids.
Mm-hmm. And here you are with two.
And now I have, I just celebrated my 15th anniversary and I have 2 boys. So you never know what's going to happen.
Such a beautiful family.
Oh, thanks. But, and then
yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
And everything changed. And I used to say I'd give my left arm to be home with my boys more. And it turns out I gave my left arm to be home with my boys more. And after 6 weeks, I wanted to kill everybody. So I think we also, need to be careful what we wish for and be okay with the idea as women that we're not all meant to be stay-at-home moms. I have the utmost respect for stay-at-home moms. I don't know how the hell they do it. I don't know how stay-at-home dads do it. I actually think that I am better for my family when I'm working and motivated and trying to help other people. And I think that as women, there's kind of this undercurrent of you're supposed to want to be a wife. You're supposed to want to be a mom. And it's okay if you don't want to do any of that stuff. And it's okay if you don't want to be there for every single step and every single moment.
Yeah, if you do want to do it. There are many different flavors of that, many styles. I mean, in our culture, we have this, I forget the term I heard recently, it was encapsulated it really well. It was something like hyperactive mothering, or very, being extremely involved. This is normalized in our culture to be extremely involved, but you can be a fantastic parent and not have that style. So I just don't want people coming up in the ranks to think that it has to be a certain way.
Totally.
So as far as developing your clinical skills, were there any specific challenges there? You said your transition to private practice was difficult. And did you have anyone, I guess you mentioned in training, or as a student, but did you have were there people naysaying or kind of discouraging you at any point?
I don't remember specifically getting discouraged once I was in the OBGYN pathway. And again, I think it's because it was a time when women were really starting to kind of come into it more. I think for me, it was more internal. it was really internalized that I felt like I couldn't do certain things. You know, I wouldn't have been able to been a gyne-onc because it was all men, right? It was, I truly believe it was all internalized. I don't remember any specific people saying that I couldn't do anything, which is just as damaging, or if not more, right? If we're just kind of culturized and we have these internalized feelings. I also didn't have anybody pushing me to do it, right? I mean, it worked both ways a little bit.
Was that a specific field you were interested in, like gyne-onc?
Initially, I was kind of gyne-onc versus MFM, which are the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Wow, yeah.
Right? I loved ultrasound. Interesting, I'm talking to a radiologist. I loved ultrasound. It was one of my favorite things, but I was afraid that I'd give up all my surgical stuff, and I really loved being in the OR. And from the gyne-onc standpoint, it really was just, it seemed like I couldn't have a work-life balance, at least from what I was watching, because I didn't see any women doing it, right?
And the men were just there 24/7, or?
Pretty much, they were there a lot. And, you know, even though I wasn't thinking about marriage or kids at the time, it was just, someone had once said to me, when you decide what you want to do, look at the older people and see if they're happy or not. And some of the older specialists just didn't seem that happy. The older generalists seemed happy. And so I figured, you know, plant my carrots where people were happy.
It's a smart thing to do. It's hard this day and age. I think for people coming up now, it's a double-edged sword because so many people are burnt out. And I don't know, I think that I've heard the numbers are increasing over time. So people are becoming more burnt out with increasing regulation and all these pressures that doctors are facing. So it's really hard because you might see a specialty that you like, but people might be miserable that day. You know, it's like, or that week, or, you know, a complaint from a nurse on the floor hit them the wrong way, and now they're having to deal with it. I think it's a smart thing that you were gauging that way, but I think it's also a challenge for people now.
I would imagine. I mean, so many of my OBGYN friends are just miserable, you know, and COVID certainly hasn't helped. I mean, I think about you guys all the time. It took a pandemic for me to be okay with not being a clinician anymore. And it's been over 7 years, right? I mean, I still had days where I would end up sobbing because I wasn't practicing anymore. And I remember the day that somebody asked my oldest son what his mom did, and he said she used to be a doctor. Like, it still hurts, and it's been 7+ years, but COVID kind of shifted that for me. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's not so bad that I'm not in the hospital. And so many of my OBGYN friends don't have the proper stuff that they need. And they're, you know, getting asked to work longer hours for less money, I'm sure, just like you guys are. And it's a weird space right now.
But you're the ultimate example of strength and sublimation, because you took this adversity and this disability that hit you and transformed it to help your fellow physicians. So you're really still an integral part of it all.
I'm trying. You know, it's so important. I know so many people that have just been decimated by injury or illness. And I was lucky enough that I had something. It wasn't the best, but it was fine, you know, and I've also, on the flip side too, have done a lot to help kind of with disabled physician outreach work. I will say that physicians are not particularly nice to other physicians when things happen. And I'm really trying to kind of change the atmosphere. You know, there's a tyranny of perfection that exists in medicine, that we're supposed to be tougher than everybody and work harder and not be human. And I had some really mean things said to me at the beginning of my problem. And you know, there's so much work to be done, both on the risk management side financially, as there is on the kind of mental side, and how we treat each other within our own circles.
Yeah, we have so much work to do as a culture. So I hope this book fits in there. It doesn't speak to what you're speaking about now, specifically, but I think the spirit of it does, in that it's, you know, it's meant to be a hand to hold, or, you know, when you're there in the middle of the night or somebody says something and you're just doubting yourself.
Right. At the end of the day, we can do everything and anything that anybody else can.
Amen.
You know, I mean, that's the bottom line. And any of us that isn't thinking that, you know, one of the things I try to impress upon younger residents, students, is try, and it's hard, but try to find a mentor, you know, try to find somebody and reach out to them. And they're out there. We just have to find them now. I think with social networking, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's just so much easier now than it was 20 years ago to find somebody in the field that you want to be in. And I found that most women are really open and receptive to helping other women along.
It's incredible. Actually, somebody who's on right now, she's not sharing her video because she's getting her hair done, she told me. She is a mentee of mine from across the country, Amina Farouk. I'm so proud of her. And we connected on Instagram. Like, this was not a thing before. And I just, you know, the fact that she's considering, and she is basically applying to interventional radiology now, where before she wouldn't have, it makes everything worth doing. Just for one person. And she says, you make a difference. Thank you. And I think that this book is going to do that. You know, it's just going to be a counterbalancing perspective, because we have a lot of confusing rhetoric out there. And I mean, it's 2020, and we're still dealing with it, and it's not going away. And this is for gender equity. So this is the book.
Yay.
You're all going to get a copy in the mail. And I'm so excited. So it's just a slight little thing. It's not an encyclopedia of women in medicine, okay? But it's packed with, you know, the experience of 13 other contributors, one of whom is an OBGYN at my institution. She speaks to work-life balance, a couple of surgeons, and a few IRs, because that's the heart of my network. And I just think, you know, we have so much to share with one another. And I wanted to share a little reading from this, from the book with you, if you'll humor me, just to give you a taste of the book. So this is page 26. As you experience the highs and lows of a medical career, some of which I'll describe in chapters to come, you'll call on others for help. Sometimes you'll ask a colleague or a mentor for advice, while others, you'll be the one to provide support. Together, you will weather the challenges and triumphs in medicine. As a result of the camaraderie you share, your medical colleagues will sometimes understand you in a way that your friends or family can't. In this way, your colleagues become sort of like a family too. This is the value of finding your people in medicine. And so that's the first chapter, is called Finding Your People in Medicine. Also, I just, you know, at the end of each chapter, there is a section called Spill Your Guts. And so this is meant to be an exercise for you to try to mine the wisdom that you have inside, and that's hidden below all the noise. And so I go on to say, your quest in medicine will require you to look inward. To assist you in the process, I've included some questions at the end of each chapter. You can write your responses in a journal, on a sheet of scrap paper, or in the margins of this book. I've dubbed these Spill Your Guts exercises, with the hope that you'll hold nothing back. Write whatever comes to mind without judgment or censoring yourself. This is your safe place. Take your time, write until it's all on the page, And if you write until your hand aches, you might be onto something. These exercises will dig for the insights that you hold within. They might be buried under your mental to-do list right now, but they are waiting to be noticed and explored. Together, we can start to examine any beliefs that could be holding you back. Through these pages, I will encourage and challenge you to find your rightful place in medicine. Thank you. I'm so excited for you all to get your hands on this book.
Me
I've worked
too.
really hard on it. And Stephanie, yours is in the mail already, but
Yeah.
I wanted to thank all of our sponsors. So thank you, Hannah. I can't wait for you to read it also. So I want to thank all of our sponsors, and then I would love to have people, have an opportunity for a forum. What are you hoping to see in the book or get out of the book? I know you haven't met the baby yet. And this is kind of like a baby shower. My book coach was joking, like nobody's met the baby, but you can celebrate anyway. Okay, so incredible sponsors. Basically what I got up to is I was trying to pre-sell 250 of these books. That was my goal. And I was able to get 725 sponsored copies so far. So that's just a testament to go for it. You can do it. I care about this, and I know that you all care about what you're doing. It can be done. And I blew that goal out of the water. My hairy, scary goal is 750. I'm very close. So if I can give away 750 books, I would just be happy forever. I will be anyway. Okay, so at the diamond sponsorship level, 200 books, Physician on Fire. You will hear from him on Wednesday. So for those of you who would like to join on Wednesday, he's my special guest then. And he is actually a financial blogger who is retired from anesthesia. And so he also works with women in male-dominated fields. And he's become, retired from anesthesia because he, saved and did well financially as far as, living within his means. Now he teaches other physicians to do the same through his blog and through his mission. And he has a huge charitable mission as well. So while this is like a sponsorship, this doesn't get him any tax write-off, but he actually donates, I think it's 40% or maybe it's even half of all the blog profits. He has a profitable blog, and half of it goes to charity. So he's amazing. Check him out if you haven't already. Another diamond sponsor, Gurbet Medical. So this is a small French company who makes contrast for CT and MRI. They also do digital and AI solutions. And I contacted them through LinkedIn, and they were so enthusiastic. So they are a company who is also future facing. They see that, the future is female. Sorry, Ricky. Ricky knows it too.
Dude, no worries, man.
I know you're supportive of this. So I just want to be inclusive, but so Gurbet Medical. So they're all about gender equity as well. And they're on the industry side. Pearson Ravitz, Palladium sponsors. They've bought 100 books for you all. And Palladium is incidentally more valuable than platinum. I just Googled it for everyone. Okay. Argon Medical is a company that makes vena cava filters, among other things. And they just signed on as a sponsor at the platinum level. They bought 50 books for you all. Awesome. Okay. And then all of these other people are basically my personal friends. Well, Stephanie's a personal friend too, but all these other people are people who they don't necessarily have anything to promote. They just believe in you. And so they bought books. So Agnes Solberg, she is the founder of Radiology Chicks, which is a Facebook group for radiologists. And she has one called IR Chicks and one called Future Radiology Chicks, as well as a Future IR Chicks. So excellent online communities to join. My fellow woman in IR in the Valley, in the Coachella Valley, is Dr. Tara Hanjan. And she is, we like to joke that we locally throw off the demographics of IR in our Valley. So we get together and talk about that, like, ha ha ha. Shervin Raffi, this was my work husband. He's an abdominal imager, and sadly he moved on, but he has sponsored 10 books for you all. Monica Uceda, I think some of you may know her. She's an interventional radiologist. All of this is in the email I sent as well. Arun Tunga, he's an anesthesiologist at my hospital. Damien Dupuis, he's a pioneer of percutaneous ablation, and I trained with him. And he said, I'm all in. That was his response. Herschel McGinnis. So Herschel is, he's basically forming a new LGBTQ initiative within the Society of Interventional Radiology. So he is a leader to watch. And so he has been working with Interventional Radiology Quarterly, our IR magazine, to have, it's called The Commitment is his column, and it's a commitment to diversity and inclusion. So he's an excellent partner. Alan Lipkowitz is one of my partners. So he is a friendly Canadian fellow who I've worked with, and he's almost like a father figure. I recently asked him about some other life advice, and he's just a mensch. Linda Armstrong, she is a woman who does both interventional and breast imaging, and I connected with her online, and she sponsored 10 books for you all. Grace Wang, she is a local interventional cardiologist, and they do exist. I think they may be even more rare than female interventionalists, interventional radiologists, and she sponsored 10 books. Jimmy Turner is also known as the physician philosopher. He actually sponsored 12 and a half books, very generous. And so he just, he had a budget and he threw it at me. Eric Presser is a thoracic surgeon at my institution. And so we have a great collegial relationship. He wanted to sponsor books. Carlos Ledesma, he's the newest IR to our group. Leonard Gonzalez, he's a pulmonary critical care doc at my institution. Michael Obedian, I did a combined BA-MD program, and he was the class ahead of me. So Mike Obedian sponsored a couple books. Travis, the founder of Student Loan Planner. So I talk about Student Loan Planner in a couple of my blog posts, and they help people to figure out whether debt consolidation or what their best option is, if they should do some kind of debt forgiveness, or if they should do like a refinance. So he is a very smart guy to know. He's married to a physician, incidentally. So he's also a great physician advocate. Linda Street, she runs a Facebook group called Negotiate Her MD. She is a brilliant MFM. She is a maternal fetal medicine specialist, and she teaches people how to negotiate for themselves. So you can join her Facebook group for free. She's awesome. Just runs master classes, and you can learn from her. And then finally, Peter Kim, and he is Passive Income MD. And so these are my friends, my fellow bloggers. Who knew that we would have such relationships that were just built online? So I want to thank them so much. So with that, I'd like to just ask you a favor, basically. When you get the book, I would love it if you would snap a picture of yourself with the book, big cheesy smile. Or you could open it up to I'm gonna sign them all on the title page. Give me your big cheese and post it online for everyone to see, because I'm gonna have hundreds more of these to give away. And I want everyone to know. So the way people can sign up, you can still tell your friends. It's tiredsuperhero.com/join-the-launch. And they can get a free book. And I'm sending them all over the country. And then I'm trying to figure it out for the people who are signing up in India and Canada, because apparently my Canadian friends tell me it's very expensive. So you may get a digital copy, but I'm just so humbled and thrilled that people are going to be reading this on other continents. I just am so thrilled. Yeah, so spread the word. The future is female. Tia, I see you. So I think I love it. So please unmute yourselves and jump in. I mean, please tell me what do you want to get out of this book? What are you hoping to see, and what can I do for you, and what can we answer for you? You have two female physicians here. You have multiple female physicians here. So open forum.
Barb, this is great, man. Like, congratulations. It's good to see somebody from New Jersey, Robert Boyd, doing so well like you, man. So,
thank you, man.
Yeah. Mayor, literally, like, as we're listening here, fighting kids in the background, she was asking, this is not like, oh, women, you could do it all, have family, have kids, you could just do it all, right? Like, because she was saying that, and she's like, if I read this book and like it says that, I'm gonna have to write a review. Said it's not true. Like, so is it sort of like that? Is it more, or is it really about, you do have to compromise, and
Yeah,
she
I
was a
like
little
that.
skeptical based on the blurb. Like, she's like,
Yeah, no, that's understandable. So the perspective I have is of someone who enjoys my career and has found somewhat of a personal balance after dealing with burnout. I can honestly say that I got burnt out very early in my career before I even had a kid. So I come at it with a couple of different experiences. And then of course, it's meant to be inspirational. It's meant to be positive, but it's definitely not Pollyanna. It's not that you can do it all. And I point to a couple of blog posts where I talk about how, some of the tools I've used to actually architect a balance. And you can find a caregiver on care.com, and you can outsource, as many things as you possibly can, or as you feel comfortable, because we cannot take care of everything. And I think it's very freeing to let a lot of things go. So in my career, even, this week I'm learning, I have technologists that I'm trying to let them work in their full scope. As a leader in private practice, this is something that I'm still learning, is how can I foster the team so that they do everything they can do without me, everything possible, because that's time that I could be spending connecting with one of you, or just reading about my next challenging case, or doing whatever I need to do. So I don't need to be pulling out that perm catheter if the tech can do it for me. So yeah, nobody should be doing it all. I don't endorse that at all. And yeah,
cool.
some may be thrown off by the tired superheroine. They say, well, the superhero myth is, it's a myth. And I get that.
Yeah,
I do believe work-life balance is a thing. That's my stance. I think there can be an integration, and it's, oh my gosh, that's an adorable dog. See, she has her fur baby here, and she's learning at the same time. Two fur babies.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Don't tell Meredith I said that too, because she's like, no, don't ask that question. But
No, it's fine. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're living in the real world. This is a place to be real. And this is, nobody's saying it's easy. Actually, half the book is about how it's not easy. And you can expect that, and you can expect pushback, and that dealing with naysayers and people who have never been a mother in medicine because they're not mothers will tell you that you can't do it. What is that? Should you be listening to that? I don't know. I think you should listen to me and my friends, all my friends in the book.
Awesome. Cool. So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And also, this is a Stephanie too. Stephanie, I worked with Russ.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Ricky, I couldn't hear you. We lost you.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, Stephanie, thank you so much for, I worked with Russ to get me by. Yeah. So, and he was awesome. So.
Awesome. So just to say, so who Ricky's speaking about, one of my associates, talk about small world. He was, so his name is Russ Carton. He is an EM doc, and we lived around the corner from each other. And shortly after I got hurt, the poor guy was helping a neighbor shovel snow and had an ice-laden branch crush him. And swear to God, the guy is lucky to be alive, let alone walking, talking, but he still has a traumatic brain injury, which interestingly enough, doesn't affect him kind of day to day, but he can't multitask well. So what do you need to do in the emergency room is multitask. And he had initially worked on the admin side for an urgent care facility. And at one point they restructured and said that all of the physicians had to be able to see patients, which effectively pushed him out because he couldn't see patients anymore. And his wife and I have been friends for a long time. And I said, hey, Russ, you want to come work with me? Like, I think your story is probably more poignant than mine. He was actually really well covered. And the rest is history. So he's been working with me now for about 2 years. And it's awesome having another physician kind of in the office with me. And, you know, we both are not really disabled human beings, but we're disabled physicians. And, you know, to be able to give him a new kind of outlook and something to look forward to every day. It sounds really trite, but part of why I like what I do now is also to be able to give good people good jobs. And it's been really awesome. So I'm glad, Ricky, that you had a great experience with him. He's wonderful.
Yes, use this as a networking opportunity. Now you've all met each other.
I know, it's so exciting. I love when I get to meet our clients because so much of what we do is virtual and I don't get to actually meet people. So that's awesome. You just made my day, Ricky. Sorry, Barbara, you really made my day, but that really made my day.
And so you don't get to meet them unless something bad happens, right? It's like, oh, right.
I'm really excited to read the book and see what everybody has to say because it's not easy, but it's doable and it's all about compromise and figuring out what you're passionate about and making it work. So I'm super stoked to read it.
I think it'll arrive any minute.
Yay.
And I'm like a one-woman shipping firm here, so just bear with me if it takes a little bit longer.
Also, Meredith did that. She did a Brave Enough course, and you know, she's like, "Oh, guess who's speaking?" Yeah, we actually heard your talk during that conference as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed the other speakers. There was a Northwestern Mutual financial quote unquote advisor also. Like, what is it with this company?
I didn't notice that. I haven't listened to all the talks yet. So Ricky's speaking about the Brave Enough Elevate conference, which was a virtual conference this past, it was like 3 weeks ago or so on the Kajabi platform. So it's kind of like on-demand recorded talks with Sasha Shilcutt, who's a cardiac anesthesiologist. And she is like,
I went last year in person. I couldn't do the virtual thing this year.
I wonder if we were at the same conference. So you were in Tucson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I wonder if we walked right by each other before we knew each other.
Probably did. I'm bummed to hear that there was a Northwest Mutual person, just as a quick little aside. Their policies are not true own occupation policies. They claim that they have a medical occupation definition for own occupation, but the definition for total disability is that you have to both be unable to do your job and not be gainfully employed. That is not a truly specialty specific policy. There are currently 6 companies that will allow for specialty specific language. What you want the policy to say is that you are considered totally disabled if you can't do your job, regardless if you're gainfully employed in another occupation. You don't want to have to worry about losing part of your benefit while you're trying to figure out your next phase. And I think that they're a little bit misleading.
Thank you so much for that perspective.
Oh, yeah. So far, I don't know, like, I told Meredith during this conference, like, can you tell, like, oh, hey, I don't know if that's the right person. Like, Meredith, of course, didn't realize, like, oh, I'm just an attendee, but do you find, like, there's a lot of misinformation, if, especially in, like Dr. Chilcott's doing the same thing as you, man. She's trying to empower women, but there's this obviously like misinformation. I mean, I don't know the Northwestern Mutual agent, but it's Northwestern Mutual, like Stephanie says, like I got screwed by them, and like do you find like
Yeah.
that's a problem among like advocates like you in women in medicine, where they're doing a good thing, but there's some misinformation, and like bad actors like Northwestern Mutual has sort of infiltrated such, like, and how do you deal with that? Like
Yeah,
did you know that? Did you know she had a Northwestern Mutual like person giving probably very poor? I actually listened to it and wasn't really trying to promote like selling products, but I bet she is, right? Like if she were talking one to one, like
Yeah.
I don't know how, if you would cut that as you're advocating for women in medicine, and then also like, is it your place to say something? Like, like how does that?
That's why it's so important that we have Stephanie in the community, because she is the real deal. I mean, and she's a broker who works with all the different, aid policies so that she can, and she's so well educated through experience.
And I think it's hard to expect people like Sasha, like Barbara, to know all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, we don't know everything.
To Ricky's extent of like, is Sasha necessarily doing a disservice? I would say no, right? I mean, she's still trying to espouse the importance of this entity, right? I think what ends up happening, or what I'd love to see happen, is that people like you who know better, who have been educated better, push back a little bit, because it's the only way that any of us learn anything is by being told. I mean, so much of what I've learned and how I've learned is realizing that we don't know what we don't know. And until somebody points out that we don't know what we don't know, it happens, and it's going to continue to happen in every kind of aspect. You can't expect any one person to be an expert in everything. And I think that there has to be a little bit of grace kind of in that sense.
Absolutely. And Barbara, with your sort of like advocacy efforts here, like, have you found like sort of that you've measured, hey, I am making a difference, like either through like maybe blog posts or something, or maybe even locally in your, you've seen like more women being hired in your hospital or department, like, do you have a way to like sort of measure like, hey, I'm making some progress, or is it something like it's just like sort of impossible to measure? You sort of just do what you can, and just sort of hoping you're getting results.
Yeah, I'm going for impact, definitely. I mean, being a couple of years into my blogging career and now as a budding author, I feel like this is just the beginning for me. And already I've seen enough results to just keep me going. I mean, to begin with, I felt compelled to do this because it's like a drive from within when you see that so many women are leaking out of the pipeline, and it's like there's no one to patch the hole. I want to go patch those holes. So yeah, I've seen examples like Amina. I mean, I don't mean to single her out, but she's a shining example of someone who really didn't, she's so brilliant. She really didn't think she could do this. And I was just a voice to be there at the right time to say, yeah, actually you can. And so it can make a difference for one person. And then, you know, when it makes a difference for two people, I mean, it's double. It's just that, and then those people will go on to impact hundreds of lives. And so that's why, you know, I think when people buy this book or get a copy and share it with a friend, it's like by giving this and supporting a budding woman in medicine, I mean, you can impact thousands of patients that person is going to take care of because they ended up in the right place. And I just felt like we needed this resource of, you know, finding the right place for you when there's all this confusing and sometimes like gendered misinformation.
Yeah. I know Mary, you know, she always complains about it. I mean, you know, she loves her job, but you know, it's tough if she were to try to change, you know, the culture of it's just more time away from me and the kids, and you know, so God bless you for, you know, spending the time, because Mary sees, like, you know, she gets crapped on mostly because she's a woman, and you know, she's just too tired to fight or too busy, you know,
and some people are. I mean, you're right. I'm using my position as someone who's like in an empowered position, and I have the time between my cases sometimes, and I'm writing a blog post, and I just fit it in because that's the nature of my specialty. You know, I might be sitting there, and instead of shopping on Amazon, I can just bang out a little blog post. Anyone can do this, but it's just, yeah. I care about this. I think there are so many talented women, and they're more than 50% of the talent pool now. I mean, you cannot ignore them. If we want our future medical care to be decent, we need to foster all of the talent pool, and we need to get rid of some of these stodgy older ideas. And for some of the quieter people here, please feel free to speak up, because I don't want to go too long and I want to respect everybody's time, but like, feel free to speak up.
Hey guys, I'm joining you from Jordan, all the way in the Middle East.
Wow.
And I'm so excited to hear about such an amazing book, and congratulations on the release and everything.
Thank
and I'm
you.
excited to get my e-copy. So
yeah.
Just being surrounded by such powerful women like Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Pearson, it's such an amazing energy to feed off of. And I just graduated med school here, and I'm hoping to go for residency in the States. So it's very inspiring to see that there are so many role models, especially that I still live in a culture where being a woman in medicine is a challenging thing in itself. And I've always had opinions thrown at me that this specialty is too demanding for a woman, or it's not like good lifestyle and work balance. So I just want to say,
it's universal.
Yeah.
No, I mean, unfortunately, if you come here, you're not gonna get away from it.
Yeah.
But I love that you said, I'm happy to see there are so many role models. I think you have them all here. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
So in OB, I don't know what are you considering?
I am considering diagnostic radiology. So
yay.
Yeah, so I'm really excited, and I can't wait to read the book, because I don't see that many women role models here, like genuinely. So it's just to have these things being talked about and discussed. So like burnout and all these things, they're not discussed here. And to just have people tell you how to kind of like avoid falling into burnout when you get started with your career and everything. So yeah, that's really nice to be exposed to all that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here in Jordan. It's amazing that you found whatever time zone difference. And
it just turned midnight. So
oh my gosh! Congratulations on finishing school.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. And Dr. Pearson, your story was so inspiring, and the fact that you made something out of a bad situation is just amazing, and it shows that you care more about like you care about the society and people who have been affected by these kind of things. So it's amazing that you're making a difference in that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Hope to see you on this side of the pond.
It's inspiring. It really is. Oh, I love it. Seeing other physicians stick up for each other and advocate for each other is so wonderful. And you'll see a lot of that. I mean, so when you read in the book, I mean, there are some negative experiences. It's just that when you're impressionable, like one negative comment can stick with you. And that's why I want people to develop this skill or just an awareness that, you know, that doesn't need to define you, and you can try to work through it. It can take a little extra work, little mental jujitsu, but
it's worth it.
It's worth it. I mean, in the end, it's worth it. I mean, to be like empowered, and
women can do it all, like just like you said.
yeah, I mean, and they shouldn't have to do it all, but they can, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's true.
You have some lovely lighting fixtures in your home.
Thank you. It's my parents' house, so.
But you still want to leave. That's amazing. It looks like beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always hear about like you're moving all the way to the US on your own. You're not married yet. Like, how are you gonna? And I'm like, that shouldn't be an obstacle. This is never set to like a guy who wants to go abroad for training or whatever. So it just feels good to be a part of like turning the narrative into, I can do this. Just because I'm a girl doesn't mean that's an obstacle. And I'm so lucky to have parents who support me with that and who understand that I'm capable of anything my boy siblings or whatever are. So I'm really grateful for that.
See, I love the way you just did that, because you used the litmus test. Would they say this if I was a man? No. If there are different rules for you, then that's when you need to look inward and say, well, what is best for me? And you're doing that. It's so great. So that's like one of the little tidbits from the book, isn't it? You know, how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, I want to respect everybody's time. Does anybody have a final thought? Feel free to jump in. This has meant so much to me for you to all be here. It really has. And so spread the word, and please share that link for the free book to get a sponsored copy of the book, because once they run out, you're on your own. Then you have to spend your own money, okay?
Yeah, Barb, strong work again, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so proud to be one of your sponsors and call you a friend and see where this takes you. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Oh, I feel it. Okay, go off now and conquer the world. I love you all.